This week, take a trip with me on Southwest Airlines from Baltimore to Chicago, then on to Detroit. 2 flights, with one being on a 737-800 and one being on a 737-700. Which one do you think is going to be better?
Good morning from BWI. Standing here at gate B12, getting ready to head to Chicago on a 737-800. From Chicago, we're going to continue on to Detroit in a 737-700. And then from then, 2 weeks later, you'll see the back half of this trip down to Atlanta from Detroit and the return from Atlanta to Baltimore. Unfortunate news to start today. Thought I was going to be on a MAX 8, got downgraded to an 800, but for now, I'm going to see how much Starbucks I can physically consume in a day, and one's a short walk down the B concourse, so cold brew number 1 coming up. Well, no cold brew at the BWI B6 Airport Starbucks. Iced shaken espresso. I ordered a grande. I got a venti cup with less than a venti in it. No complaints here from me. It is what it is. We have about an hour and a half till boarding, and I am the only one here for this flight, at least at the gate so far. So we shall see what happens. But the plane's here. It's an 800. It is what it is.
Here is the first ride of today. N8650F, a 9-year-old 737-800. This airframe was yet to be retrofitted with the new Southwest interior. I got here early, like 3 hours early. With my time, I decided to explore. Even though I've been to BWI a million times, I've actually never been into the A concourse, so that was first up on my list.
Many times as I've been here, you think I've been over to the A gates. Never. All of my Southwest flights out of here, ever, have always left from the B concourse. So this is the A concourse. This is my first time here. And I have to say, the walk over here was pretty sweet. Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Arby's. It's 6 a.m. I'm half debating whether or not to get a roast beef sandwich or not. We'll update when decided.
I decided that roast beef was not for breakfast. However, I did decide to sit down, check out today's flight plan, and do a little research on any weather that might affect my trip for the day. Remember, I'm doing 4 legs today, not just the 2 in this video. Detroit to Atlanta, and Atlanta back to Baltimore later tonight.
So, today weather is supposed to hit the northeast later. It's raining right now at a pretty steady pace. It was raining my entire drive up here. We should not be affected by it. I'm headed west, the storm is headed east, and then more north. So like, Baltimore is only supposed to get rain mix later this afternoon into this evening. So if any of my flights are affected, I think it would be the return leg Atlanta to Baltimore. And that's not a big deal. The big deal right now is Chicago and Detroit. Short layover in Chicago, but as long as everything's on time, we're looking good. 4.5 hours in Detroit, but I do have to switch terminals and then go through security again. Southwest does not serve the McNamara terminal, which is where Delta is based out of in Detroit. So switching airlines, switching terminals means going through security again in Detroit. It's the only thing that I'm really somewhat concerned about. We will see what happens. Boarding for Chicago in about 40 minutes. I'm going to make my way slowly back over to the gate because I've seen everything I can possibly see at this airport.
And with that, boarding had commenced. On Southwest, you get to pick your seat, so I chose 9A. I did pay for early bird boarding on this flight and my next one, as I do find it vital to get a window seat for peak enjoyment. Shortly thereafter, the pilot came on the speaker and informed us we were going to be sitting at the gate for a few minutes longer as the winds had shifted and runways were being changed. As we taxied out to runway 28, we passed a few planes getting de-iced. I was happy that we weren't over there and we were on time for Chicago. It's no secret to anyone that Southwest cabins have no first class and no premium economy. It's all straight up basic economy, and personally, I like it that way. This 737-800 has 30 rows of all economy seats coming out to a total of 175. Each seat has 32 inches of pitch, except for exit rows, which have 38. After surfing over the clouds for a bit, the weather cleared up and offered spectacular views of the States. I had never been to Chicago before, so I was excited to see what this new airport held for me. Also, wanted to shout out the crew on this flight. These Baltimore-based flight attendants were more than fantastic, going the extra mile just to make sure everyone was happy. Seems to be a common theme amongst Southwest flight attendants, some of the best in the biz as always. As we descended into Chicago, time was looking great. What I didn't expect was how it felt like we were going to land in the middle of a neighborhood. I had flown this approach many times in Flight Simulator, but never once in real life. And with that, it was time to find my next gate. Our 737-700 hadn't yet arrived from New Orleans, but the gate area was pretty crowded. The terminal midway was fairly busy, but I found enough space to find a seat and give my phone a charge. Alright, we've made it to Chicago Midway. Very busy airport here, and our plane just arrived in 452WN. My mom actually just flew on 451WN 2 days ago. So that's interesting. Alright, we're going to go see the plane. Seeing our plane proved to be difficult, but here's the plane parked at the gate next to us. Maybe it's time for this one to visit the paint shop again.
Alright, well, here we are on the Southwest 737-700. The seats are more comfortable than the 800. The 800 had the old gold seats, which means they haven't been replaced since the plane's been delivered. This one has been retrofitted with the newer version of those seats, and they're stiffer and I like them better. I have a great wing view. You can see the Chicago skyline from here. For an old 19-year-old 700, this is probably about as good as I could get it.
As we got ready to push back, I realized an on-time arrival in Detroit meant that I was staring down the barrel of a 4.5-hour layover. Of course, I do have to switch terminals and go through security, but still, that just feels like a long time. Both of these flights featured Southwest's old seats. Their newer 800s and MAX 8s are currently being fitted with the Meridian seats, the same of those which you saw in my American Airlines video. Although those seats are newer and sleeker, these old seats come with more padding, meaning you can really settle in, even on a short 39-minute flight like this one. Since this flight was so short and a little bumpy, our drink orders were taken, but they were never served. The flight attendants on this flight, again, exceptional. Something about Southwest flight attendants really make me feel like they are my true hometown airline. I very much enjoy Southwest for everything they do. They serve a purpose to get you from point A to point B. I feel like they're your dad's old beat-up car in a way. Maybe not the prettiest, but they sure do get the job done when you need them to. We touched down in Detroit about 3 minutes early and had a long taxi to our gate. We did have to hold on the apron for a few minutes as we waited for a Frontier A320 to pull into their already occupied gate, but other than that, it was a smooth flight on a no-frills airline. we are at DTW, and now I have to hop terminals here. Great flight on Southwest as always. Stay tuned. 2 weeks, we got more content coming for you, so keep that in mind. Gonna go get on a bus. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.